Hello everyone, welcome to my June 2014 video game pickups video. I've got about 8 games to show you here. One Super Nintendo game, which is a rarity in itself when it comes to me. One Wii game, and the rest are all PS2. So I'm going to start with the Super Nintendo game. Now initially I was going to buy Donkey Kong Country 2, because that's the only one I'm missing of the trilogy. And I looked on eBay, I found one at an auction, and fortunately for whatever reason I was doing something else at the time and I missed it. So I was looking for something else, and this popped up, and I managed to get it for a fairly good price, just under £30 roughly. And that was Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, or Yoshi's Island as most people call it. Now this game I actually originally played on the Game Boy Advance back in 2003, I believe. This was actually, funny enough, around the time I had a Game Boy Advance SP, and I was currently doing Pro Evo tournaments in a sort of internet cafe in London. It was one of the sort of venues where the tournament was set up. It was very sort of basic at the time, not what it is now. And while I was there, I was sort of, you wait to sort of play matches and stuff, and I thought I'd bring my Game Boy Advance with me, and this was one of the games, and I absolutely loved it. Fantastic platform, one of my absolute favourites ever. I actually kind of prefer it to the first Super Mario World, because I never really got the mechanics of the whole cape and the flying and stuff. But this one I didn't really have too many problems with, apart from the obvious of Baby Mario crying and stuff. Yeah, the box is not perfect, but I don't really mind too much. The cartridge is fine, and the manual is fine. So yeah, I'm okay with that. Okay, next up, the one Wii game that I bought this month was a game called Ghost Squad. Now this was actually a recommendation from a YouTuber called Metal Jesus Box. He does a lot of collection videos, and the one I watched was the Hidden Gems video for the Nintendo Wii, and this was one of those games. It's kind of similar to Time Crisis, sort of light gun game. You use the Wiimote to sort of point and shoot and that. Also very similar, because the dialogue and the voice acting are just so bad that it's absolutely hilarious. But I love games like that, where they just go all out and just be as cheesy and odd as possible. And yeah, I found this in CEX for about £1.50, and I thought, yeah, why not? And I haven't had a chance to play it, but yeah, I like the look of it. It looks really great fun. Okay, and I have 6 PS2 games to show you. I want to start with the 2 I haven't played yet. The first one is actually a recommendation from a couple of friends of mine, and they absolutely love this game from back in the day, and I saw it on eBay for about £10. I thought, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And that is Obscure. Now this is primarily a 2-player co-op game, although you can play it 1 player as well. It's set in a high school, and you play like various different students who have various different qualities that can help you get through the game. It's survival horror, and I feel it's kind of a hidden gem as well. So and there's also a sequel which hopefully I'll get at some point. But yeah, it seems pretty interesting. And speaking of survival horror, the next game I have here is Silent Hill Origins. Yeah, Origins, not oranges. Now this is actually a prequel to the Silent Hill story, and you play as Travis, who is a trucker who ends up in Silent Hill, and the sort of usual story of has a very troubled past and has to sort of face his demons, blah 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 blah. And, this is also a port from the PS3, the PSP version, which I'm hoping they sort of sort out the controls, because I played games like Liberty City Stories on the PS2, which have been ports of the PSP, and they haven't really sorted out the controls. So I'm hoping they've done so for this one. But yeah, it looks interesting, and yeah, can't wait to try it out. Next up, a game that I have played for a little bit, and I'm a little bit disappointed by it personally, and that is Sled Storm. This is part of the EA Sports Big series, and I actually played quite a few of those games, including SSX Tricky, of course, and also Def Jam Fight for New York, which is one of my favourite PS2 games. This one is it's a racing game, pretty much like SSX Tricky, only you're on a sort of automated sled, and or a sled vehicle, I should say. And yeah, it's similar to SSX. You do like loads of tricks and stuff to get like be able to boost and all that. Interestingly enough, it actually has Zoe and Simon, who are characters from the SSX series. I don't know if they appeared in here first or like guest characters for this game. I don't know, but yeah, it's okay. It's just not as polished as SSX Tricky and Free, in my opinion, anyway. But it's okay. It's just nothing special. Next up, we have another primarily co-op game, and that is Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. There you play as Liu Kang on the right there, and Kung Lao on the left. It's, as I said, it's primarily designed as a co-op game, but you can play as either character individually. It's a like 1 to 2 player beat 'em up, similar to Streets of Rage, Final Fight, the usual genre of games there, and but it's on a sort of a 2D backdrop, but you can sort of fight in like on a sort of 3D sort of plane, I guess, and yeah, the combat is very much like a Mortal Kombat game, only you can fight on like in 3 dimensions, and you actually have fights against, or boss battles against famous Mortal Kombat characters such as Goro and Scorpion and Baraka and the like, and yeah, it looks pretty interesting. Unfortunately, I don't have anyone to play it with in co-op, but yeah, it's still good nonetheless. And next up, we have another sort of hidden gem, I guess you could say, on the PS2. Although initially this was a Dreamcast game, and that is Rez. Now, Rez is one of the first sort of rhythm action games. I know games like Parappa the Rapper and Buster Groove and Jeremy Lammy and Vib Ribbon all came before this, but yeah, oh, dropped it there. But this was a very different rhythm action game. You sort of this sort of being who sort of like interacts with the world, and everything you interact with plays like a musical note, and it just creates this sort of really atmospheric sort of techno sounding soundtrack, so to speak. And It's really, really good. I did actually play this on the 360, which is the has the HD version via Xbox Live Arcade, and yeah, really, really good game. And yeah, great music, and it's sort of like if you've ever played games such as Panzer Dragoon Auto on the Xbox, for example. It's the gameplay is very similar to that. Only there's, instead of like killing like enemies and stuff, you sort of play music to the stuff you hit, which is pretty cool. So, and finally, we have Shinobi. Now this is a reboot of a classic series on the Sega Mega Drive slash Sega Genesis, depending on where you're from. And it was a sort of 2D side-scroller sort of platform action game, I guess. And but this is more in the style of games like Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry, etc. And yeah, it's really good. It's quite basic in what you can actually do, but what it does do right very well. You can sort of run on walls. You can hit enemies with daggers to slow them down, which is really helpful in the boss fights, by the way. You do like these sort of chain attacks where you take out 4 or 5 enemies at the same time. You get this really cool cinematic where you put your sword back in place, and all the enemies sort of die simultaneously in the sort of very movie sort of style. And yeah, it's really, really cool. It is. I have told it's quite difficult, but I've done the first 2 worlds so far, and I've not had that much trouble. I would say the terrain more than the enemies is more of a hazard to your health than yeah, actually the enemies sort of hitting you. I've sort of been experienced with games like Onimusha and Devil May Cry and the like, so figuring out enemy patterns and sort of figuring out a way of taking them down isn't really that much of a problem for me. But you have some levels where it's like half the stage is like an abyss into nothingness, and you sort of try and dodge an enemy's attack and you end up falling down the hole. So yeah, that's a little bit frustrating because you have to start over. But other than that, yeah, really enjoying it. Slowly sort of taking into one of my favourite games on the PS2. So yeah. Okay, and that's it for my June 2014 pickups video. Hope you enjoyed it. I would also like to point out that I did buy Murdered Soul Suspect on the PS4 in early June, but I didn't really have it for long. I sort of completed it once, and that was pretty much it. And I ended up trading it in for a gift card to sort of use later on in the year for other games. So yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for a games I recently played. I've got a new episode of that coming up shortly, so yeah, I hope you look forward to that, and yeah, see you next time.